باسم الآب والولد والمنفس القدوس أدوامنا آمين. باسم الآب والولد والمنفس القدوس أدوامنا آمين. باسم الآب والولد والمنفس القدوس أدوامنا آمين. Yes, good morning, and here we are again on Monday, the start for many of the working week. So yeah, I hope work isn't too stressful and is manageable and is productive and it's healthy. And it's not easy to catch a balance in today and age with work and everything else. So yeah, I just pray that everyone has a good, healthy start to the week. So on with the reading. Numbers chapter 11. Give thanks for these few words. The people were complaining in the ears of Yahweh. When Yahweh heard it, his anger burned, and Yahweh's fire burned amongst them, and consumed some of the outskirts of the camp. The people cried to Moses, and Moses prayed to Yahweh, and the fire abated. The name of that place was Taberah, because Yahweh's fire burned amongst them. The mixed multitude that was amongst them lusted exceedingly, and the children of Israel also wept again, and said, Who will give us meat to eat? We remember the fish which we ate in Egypt for nothing, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now we have lost our appetite. There is nothing at all except this manna to look at. The manna was like coriander seed, and it looked like beldium. The people went around, gathered it, and ground it in the mills, and beat it on the mortars, and boiled it in its pots, and made cakes from it. Its taste was like the taste of fresh oil. When the dew fell on the camp in the night, the manna fell on it. When Moses heard the people weeping throughout their families, every man at the door of the tent, and Yahweh's anger burned greatly, and Moses was displeased. Moses said to Yahweh, Why have you treated your servant so badly? Why haven't I found favor in your sight, that you lay in the burden of all the people on me? Have I conceived all this people? Have I brought them out that you should tell me, carry them in your bosom as a nurse carries a nursing infant to the land which you swore to their fathers? Where could I get meat to give all the people? For they weep before me, saying, Give us meat, that we may eat. I may not be able to bear all the people alone, because it's too heavy for me. If you treat me this way, please kill me right now, for if I have found favor in your sight, don't let me see my wretchedness. Yahweh said to Moses, Gather to me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be elders of the people and the officers amongst them, and bring them to the tent of the meeting, that they may stand there with you. I will come down and talk with you there. I will take the spirit which is on you and put it on them, and they shall bear the burden of the people with you, that you don't bear it yourself alone. Say to the people, Sanctify yourselves in preparation for tomorrow, and you will eat meat. For you have wept in the ears of Yahweh, saying, Who will give us meat to eat? For it is well with us in Egypt. Therefore Yahweh would give you meat, and you will eat. You will not eat just 1 day or 2 days or 5 days or 10 days or 20 days, but a whole month, until it comes out of your nostrils, and it is loathsome to you, because you have rejected Yahweh who is amongst you, and have wept before him, saying, Why did we come out of Egypt? Moses said, The people among whom I am are 670,000 on foot, and you have said, I will give them meat, that they may eat for a whole month. Shall flocks of herds be slaughtered for them, to be sufficient for them? Shall all the fish in the sea be gathered together for them, to be sufficient for them? Yahweh said to Moses, Has Yahweh's hand grown short? Now you will see whether my word will happen or not. Moses went out and told the peoples Yahweh's words, and he gathered 70 men of the elders of the people and set them around the tent. Yahweh came down in the cloud and spoke to him, and took of the spirit that was on him, and put it in the 70 elders. When the spirit rested on them, they prophesied, but they did so no more. But 2 men remained in the camp. The name of one was Eldad, and the name of the other was Medad, and the Spirit rested on them. They were those who were written, but had not gone out of the tent, and they prophesied in the camp. A young man ran and told Moses, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of Moses, one of his chosen men, answered, My lord Moses, forbid them. Moses said to him, Are you jealous for my sake? I wish that all Yahweh's people were prophets, that Yahweh would put his spirit on them. Moses went into the camp, he and the elders of Israel. A wind from Yahweh went out and brought quails from the sea and let them fall by the camp, about a day's journey on his side and a day's journey on the other side, around the camp, and 2 cubits above the surface of the earth. The people rose up all day and all night and all the next day and gathered the quails. He who gathered least gathered 10 homers, and they spread them all out for themselves around the camp. While the meat was still between their teeth before it was chewed, Yahweh's anger burned against the people, and Yahweh struck the people with a great plague. The name of that place was called Kibroth Hattaavah, because there they buried the people who lusted. From Kibroth Hattaavah, the people travelled to Haveroth, and they stayed at Haveroth. For these few words I give thanks, blessed love. So there's a lot going on. After, again, some chapters that have been quite detailed and technical, with lists, etc. Here we have, again, the high drama that we saw at the beginning of Exodus, that we saw in Genesis, and a chapter that's not that long. It's only 35 verses, but there's drama packed in all sides of this chapter. So I'll try and break it down again, just so it's easy to conceptualize. So after we heard yesterday God preparing the people and trying to get them disciplined, straight away in chapter 11 we have the people complaining, and the people are complaining to Yahweh because they're hungry, and particularly because they didn't have any meat, and they're complaining about this substance called manna. And manna seemed to be a spiritual kind of food, because they were in transit. Food was scarce. They couldn't be eating all their cattle and livestock. So God gave them this substance called manna, which is not meat, but it's like meat-like, and it descends at night time. It says it descends for them people to take in the morning. So it's a food that God helped nourish the people. But people, by the sounds of this, are getting fed up with it. And they say they remember when they were back in Egypt, they had fish and they had cucumbers and melons and leeks and onions and garlic. But now we've lost our appetite. So the people are annoyed with God and Moses because they're hungry. We've seen this before. No matter all the miracles that we saw God did with the red parting of the Red Sea, straight away the people started to complain again when they got hungry. And then a big part of this chapter is actually God being in an argument with Moses, and Moses being angry with God and upset with God. And he said, if this is my lot, then strike me down now. If this is all I have to put up with is the burden of the people, then just kill me now and don't show me my shortcomings, kind of thing. So a big part of this is Moses moaning to God, and God saying, right, if this is how you feel, I will give the people their meat. I will have it coming out of their ears. I will have it in abundance, that they're going to have so much. And Moses, like, how are you going to do that? Because are we going to use all our cattle to do that? And God said, don't worry, you'll see what I'm going to do. But God actually was doing something to show his anger and his frustration, not only with the people, but also with Moses. So he makes, is it quails, it says, come out of the sea in abundance, and the people start to collect all the quails up. I'm just trying to see quails out of the sea. So people started to get gluttonous because all of a sudden they had all of these quails come out, and they were meat, essentially. We still call them shellfish, but it was meat for them. So they started to gather them up and start to then to eat them. But it says here, even before they could start chewing, that Yahweh struck them down with a great plague, because they were just gluttony and just lustful and ungrateful. And God made a big kind of swathe of that community perish under their own greed. The other thing going on in this chapter was that Moses was basically again complaining, saying, is he meant to be taken on the burdens of all these thousands of people? He said, did I conceive all of these people? As in, are they all my children, sort of thing? So Moses having a good moan. And so Yahweh's solution to that is to say to Moses, get 70 of the elders from the community, divvy them up, and they can take on the burdens of the people. We've seen that before when Jethro said to Moses, you're in danger of getting burnt out. And that was the solution back then, is to get different tribes to have their own leaders, and they can be the judges and the mediators amongst the people. So it's exactly the same solution again. But yeah, Moses is angry and upset and tired by the sounds of it, but also God's getting angry and frustrated with both Moses and the people, and at the moment no one's happy. And God's frustration is born out of all this time of preparation and giving and saving them, etc., but still they complain in their humanly way. And Moses feels hasn't got the support, that he's the lightning rod for all of these complaints. And, I think one of the messages of this chapter is that leaders themselves need support. And again, we've seen that before. We saw that in Exodus and Leviticus, where Moses didn't always feel the most confident and he needed that support. And we're seeing it the same here again. I think the other interesting thing is that we're seeing that it is okay to take your burdens to God, that it's okay to, as it sounds strange saying it, but argue with God. You as that famous song goes, you've got a friend in Jesus, and take your troubles to God. It's okay to do that. That's what he's here for, to take those burdens, to take your worries and doubts and fears. Obviously, we would be taught to take it in a respectful way, not be kind of ranting and swearing at God in that sort of sense. But we do see here Moses and God kind of talking as if they are on certain levels, really. But, God didn't kind of respond in that same equal way, because he is God, and actually he showed what he wanted to do, which was to bring a plague amongst the people, because they were ungrateful and gluttonous and greed. And again, he's trying to show with a strong hand what to do and what not to do, what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. I'm not going to get into the ethics of that and how that reads from today's language, but it is a very strong hand. And again, even though the Bible says what a friend we have in Jesus, etc., these are our deities. This is God. This is Jesus Christos in that sort of sense, even though this is Old Testament, not New Testament, but they are not the same as our friends that we go to lunch with or people we went to school with. Do you know what I mean? And I think we can get into this false sense of security. Oh yeah, God is our body, and it's often portrayed in that way. But actually, if we're serious about God and Messiah, it's not to treat them in the same way we treat our friends and expect them to relate as friends, because they're on a different level to that, and we can often anthropomorphize Most High and Jesus Christos as if they're our buddies and our, oh yeah, let's go out, let's watch a film together. Do you know what I mean? There's a different relationship and that cozy sense of relationship with God. I'm not saying that's a wrong thing, but it is also not the totality of that relationship, because His Majesty, the Almighty is worthy of praise, and it's a different relationship. I'll end there before I start waffling, but I think you get my point. Have a blessed day. Malcolm Ken, have a good day, and God willing, more tomorrow. Give thanks.